In the year 3078, Earth had changed. The sky was no longer blue, and the cities were surrounded by giant junkyards. Massive fields filled with broken machines, old spaceships, and alien trash. Earth had become the galaxy's dumping ground. Max lived in Junk Zone 47, one of the largest scrap fields in the northern zone. He was only 19, skinny but smart, and worked as a scavenger. Every day, Max searched the metal mountains for anything valuable, old parts, batteries, tools. He sold them in the black market to survive. One evening, the sky above the junkyard turned red. A strange light flickered in the clouds. Max looked up and saw something falling fast. It wasn't a meteor. It was a capsule, metallic, round, and glowing blue. Boom! The ground shook as the capsule crashed into the far corner of the junkyard. Max's heart raced. "That's not normal trash," he whispered to himself. Grabbing his scanner and flashlight, he ran toward the crash site. The air smelled like burned metal. Sparks flew from broken wires as he climbed over piles of scrap. When he reached the crash site, he stopped. His eyes widened. The capsule was half buried in the ground, steaming. It was about the size of a small car, with strange alien symbols glowing faintly on its surface. It looked old, damaged, but not dead. He slowly walked closer. The scanner beeped fast. "Life form detected," it said. Max froze. "Wait. What?" He placed his hand on the side of the capsule. Felt warm. There was a small window on one side, covered in dust and cracks. Max wiped it with his sleeve and looked inside. Jake Hart, his breath caught in his throat. A lone space explorer. Inside was a girl. Inside his small spaceship. She looked around his age. He had landed on this frozen planet to collect her hair white crystals. Like snow. But now, she wore a silver suit, was torn at the shoulder, and snow was falling like sharp knives from the sky. Suddenly, her fingers twitched. At the screen. Her eyes opened, glowing soft signal purple. Appeared. Max jumped back. Please help us. The girl didn't move again. Jake sat up straight. She was alive. The signal was broken. He knew he couldn't leave her there. Someone was in danger. Others would find her. He checked and they wouldn't be kind. It was coming from a few miles away. Max forced near the snowy mountains. The seal broke with a hiss. Cold steam poured out and blaster. The girl gasped, opened the ship's door, rising quickly. The cold air hit his face, slowly turned toward him. But he didn't stop. He had to see who was calling for help. She whispered. The snow was deep, broken voice. Every step felt heavy. Then she fainted. His scanner beeped. Max didn't understand. The signal was getting stronger. Why was she in a capsule? After 1 hour of walking, he reached a strange area. He lifted her carefully. The snow was different here. She was light, almost too light, like something crashed. As he carried her back to his workshop, he brushed away layers of snow and found metal. The junkyard was quiet, or what was left of but one. Something in the air was a small alien pod. He reached his small shelter, frozen, a hidden place almost under a broken cargo ship. He touched the door. He placed the girl on a makeshift bed using his laser cutter. He opened it slowly. No wounds. Inside, he saw something that shocked him in the dark. Two alien girls. He heard looked like humans, but had light blue incoming skin signal and glowing silver eyes. Searching their faces were calm but pale. Capsule ID. They weren't moving much. X9 Beta. Their breathing was slow and weak. Max's heart sank. Jake quickly checked their pulse. Someone was looking for her. Still alive. He turned off the scanner quickly and sat beside the capsule. He whispered. He noticed a small metal tag on the side. He carried the first one. Discarded unit. Then the second back to his ship. No value. It was a long walk, and the scar made it harder. But he didn't stop. They threw her away. He placed them near the heater, but she didn't look dangerous. She looked scared. He started in 4 from his fragile to help them recover. Then sirens began to echo in the distance. Finally, Max stood up. One of the sisters opened her eyes. Red lights flashed in the sky, confused ships, and looked around. They're here already. When she saw Jake, he whispered. She froze. They're looking for her. The girl stirred in her voice, soft and strange. Her hand twitched again. You saved us. The lights around her body glowed brighter. You're safe Max now. Stared in shock. She sat up as metal tools holding the table began to float. Her eyes were wide with wonder or maybe fear. She's not normal. My name is Lyra, Max said, backing away. And that she's not a mistake either. Jake, outside, the ships got closer. What happened to your ship? The alien girl began to whisper again in her sleep. We were running from something. A single word. From someone. Max wanted to ask more. He had a choice to make. Nexa also run and save himself. The two sisters looked at each other. The strange girl from a world in a strange alien language. He looked at her one more time. You didn't have to help who you are, Lyra said softly. But I think you deserve a second chance. That means, as he locked the workshop doors, Jake raised down all signals. Chosen? Max knew this was just the beginning. It's our way. Something big had landed in Junk Zone 47. If someone saves us from death, was already on its way, especially a male, we must bond with him. Jake looked surprised. Wait, what? Is this some kind of alien marriage thing? Both sisters nodded. Jake laughed nervously. Look, I just helped because it was the right thing to do. I'm not looking to be bonded. Lyra smiled. It's not a choice for us. It's a rule of our bloodline. And now, we belong to you. Before Jake could reply, a warning beep came from his ship's alarm. Movement detected outside. Jake walked to the small window and looked into the snow. Nothing. Just white. But the scanner said something was moving. Slowly. Coming closer. Stay inside, he told the sisters. He grabbed his blaster and stepped outside. The wind screamed around him. Snow hit his face like glass. He looked around, trying to see any movement. Then he saw it. Footprints. But not human. Long, sharp, clawed prints. And they were fresh. Jake's eyes narrowed. This planet was supposed to be empty. No life, no predators. So what was this? He followed the tracks a bit, but they stopped suddenly, like something had vanished. Jake returned to the ship, troubled. Inside, Nexa looked scared. Did you see it? No, Jake said. But it saw us. He looked at the two alien sisters. They were weak, but something told him they were hiding more than they had said. Lyra placed her hand on Jake's arm. Her touch was cold, but her voice was warm. We owe you everything now, she said. We will protect you, like you protected us. Jake looked out the window again. The snow was falling harder. And somewhere out there, something was watching. Jake couldn't sleep that night. Outside the ship, the storm had slowed, but something still felt wrong. He kept thinking about the strange footprints in the snow. Sharp, long, like claws. Inside the ship, the two alien sisters slept near the heater. Their skin was still pale blue, but they looked stronger than before. Jake sat in his chair, blaster near his side, eyes half open. He was still trying to understand everything. Who were they? And what did they mean by "you are chosen"? The next morning, Lyra was the first to wake up. She walked slowly to the window and stared at the white land outside. Her silver eyes sparkled in the morning light. Jake offered her a warm drink. Here. It's not great, but it helps. She smiled. Thank you. You saved our lives. I had to. It's not in me to leave someone behind, Jake said. Nexa woke up next. She was quieter, more serious. Her eyes studied everything like a soldier. Jake sat down across from them. All right, he said. Time to talk. Who exactly are you? The sisters looked at each other. Then Lyra nodded. We are from the planet Niralon, she said. A cold, rich world in another system. We are daughters of a royal bloodline. Jake blinked. Wait, you're royalty? Yes, Nexa answered. But we ran away. We did not agree with our father's plan. What plan? He wanted to force us into marriage, Lyra said, to unite two powerful houses. But the man he chose was cruel, evil. We escaped during the ceremony. Our ship was damaged in the storm. Jake leaned back, thinking. So that rule, about saving someone, it's real? Yes, Lyra replied. In our culture, if someone saves a royal from certain death, they become bonded. It is not just tradition, it is law. It also connects our life energy to yours. Jake's eyes widened. Wait, what? Life energy? Nexa spoke slowly. If you die, we die. Jake stood up. That's not fair. I didn't ask for that. Lyra stepped forward. We didn't choose it either. But fate did. The moment you touched us and brought us back from death, the bond began. Jake looked out the window. Snow was still falling gently. Why me? He whispered. I'm just a miner. I fly around looking for resources. I'm not a hero. But you acted like one, Lyra said gently. And now we're part of your story. Suddenly, the ship's alarm beeped again. Jake rushed to the screen. Movement outside. Again. He grabbed his blaster. Stay inside. But this time, Nexa stood up. I'm coming with you. Jake raised an eyebrow. You're still weak. I am trained in combat, she said firmly. If it's what I think, you'll need help. Jake hesitated, then nodded. They stepped out into the cold. The sky was gray, and the wind had quieted down. The scanner beeped softly. Something was close. They walked a few steps, then Nexa pointed. There, she said. Tracks same as last night. Jake saw them too. Clawed footprints. But this time something new, drops of green fluid. Blood? Looks like it got hurt, Jake said. It means it's still nearby, Nexa replied. Just then, a low growl came from the snow. They turned quickly, blasters ready. But there was nothing. Only snow blowing in the wind. Jake felt a chill down his spine. It's playing with us. Nexa nodded. Snow wraiths. They hunt by fear. They like to stalk their prey slowly before attacking. Great, Jake muttered. This just keeps getting better. They returned to the ship and locked the doors. Inside, Lyra was waiting, worried. It's watching us, Nexa said. And it's bleeding. We may have a small advantage now. Jake sat down and sighed. So I have 2 alien princesses in my ship, a snow demon outside, and now I'm tied to both of your life energy. Lyra smiled. Yes, lucky you. Jake gave a small laugh. This wasn't in the contract when I took this job. Later that day, they sat together, talking. Jake learned more about their world. Floating cities, ice dragons, warlords, and ancient codes of honor. It sounded like a dream, or a story from a book, but it was all real. As the sisters spoke, Jake noticed something else. They weren't just beautiful or royal. They were strong, brave, and deeply loyal, even to a stranger. As the night returned, Jake stood near the window, watching the snow fall again. His hand touched the glass. He had come to this planet for crystals, and now he had found something far more valuable, maybe even dangerous. Behind him, Lyra whispered, You are not alone anymore, Jake. Whatever comes, we face it together. Jake nodded slowly, but in his heart he knew. The real danger hadn't even started yet. The night outside was silent. Too silent. Jake sat near the control panel, eyes on the radar. The green dot blinked slowly. Something was moving near the ship. Again. He leaned forward, frowning. Whatever it is, it's not going away. Nexa stood behind him, watching the screen. Snow wraiths don't give up. They wait. They learn. Then they strike. Lyra sat close to the heater, her arms wrapped around her knees. It wants us scared. That's how they feed. Fear is their weapon. Jake stood and grabbed his coat. Then it's time we show it we're not afraid. He stepped outside with Nexa, blaster in hand. The wind had dropped, but the air was bitter cold. Snow crunched under their boots as they moved toward the hill behind the ship. Suddenly, Nexa grabbed his arm. There, she whispered. Look. A shape moved between the trees. Large, fast, almost silent. Jake aimed his blaster, but it was gone before he could fire. They climbed the hill carefully. Jake set up 3 motion traps, small devices that would flash and beep if anything passed by. They returned to the ship. That night, no one slept. Beep. At 3 a.m., one of the traps triggered. Jake ran to the monitor, flashing red. Trap 3, he said. It's here. He ran outside with Nexa. This time, Lyra stayed behind to watch from the window. The trap was blinking in the snow, but nothing was nearby. The snow was undisturbed, no tracks, no blood. It passed by without touching the ground, Nexa whispered. It's floating. Jake felt a cold chill run down his back. Suddenly, they heard a loud, unnatural screech. It echoed across the valley, high-pitched, angry, alien. They turned and saw something, tall, pale, thin as bones. Its body shimmered, almost invisible, but the glowing eyes were clear, bright blue and hateful. Jake fired. Nexa followed. The creature dodged fast, moving like smoke. One blast hit its leg. It screamed again and vanished into the snowstorm. Jake breathed hard. What the hell is that thing? Nexa answered. It's not just a hunter. It's intelligent. It knows we're watching. Back inside, Lyra helped clean a small scratch on Jake's arm. You're lucky. That thing kills in seconds. Jake looked at both sisters. We can't just wait. We need a plan. Nexa nodded. It bleeds. That means it can die. But we must find its lair before it brings others. Others? Jake said. Yes. Wraiths don't stay alone forever. Jake sat down. Then we don't have much time. The next day they began their search. Lyra stayed to watch the ship, while Jake and Nexa followed the trail of green blood in the snow. It led deep into a forest of black trees, where the light barely reached. They walked carefully. No birds. No wind. Just silence. Jake suddenly stopped. Ahead, in the snow, was a pile of bones. Clean. Picked dry. Not human. Nexa bent down. It's old, but not ancient. Wraiths feed here. Then they saw something else. A cave half hidden by fallen trees. The blood trail led inside. Jake checked his blaster. Nexa pulled out a glowing orb from her belt. What's that? Jake asked. Flash pulse. It shocks shadow creatures. Jake smiled. You're full of surprises. They stepped into the cave. Inside it was cold and damp. The walls were covered in strange symbols, glowing softly like frost. Then they heard it. Breathing. Slow. Wet. From the shadows, something moved. It rushed at them. Jake fired. Bright red blasts lit up the cave. The creature screamed. Nexa threw the flash pulse. A bright light exploded, and the wraith dropped, twisting in pain. Jake ran forward and shot again. This time, the blast hit its chest. The creature roared and melted into thick mist, gone. Silence returned. They looked around. Nexa pointed. There. A nest. In the corner of the cave were 3 eggs. Glowing, cold, and cracked. Jake's eyes narrowed. It was protecting something. We need to destroy it, Nexa said. They placed explosives around the nest and ran out. A moment later, boom. Fire shot into the sky, and snow fell from nearby trees. Back at the ship, Lyra watched them return. Relief filled her eyes. Jake walked in, shaking snow from his coat. One less problem. Nexa looked serious. But it won't be the last. This planet is not empty. Something bigger is coming. Jake sat down. What do you mean? Lyra spoke softly. We didn't tell you everything. When we escaped, we didn't just run from a marriage. We stole something. Jake looked at her. What did you take? Both sisters were silent. Then Nexa said, a royal key to control a war fleet. Jake stared at them. And outside, in the snowy sky, a strange light appeared in the clouds. A ship, large, silent, watching. Jake stood frozen at the ship's window. Above the snowy valley, a dark shape hovered behind the clouds. A ship, huge, silent. Its lights blinked like cold stars. He turned to the sisters. That ship, is it yours? Lyra lowered her eyes. Yes. Nexa stayed quiet, but her jaw tightened. Her hand rested on the blaster at her side. Jake's voice was sharp. You told me you were running from a marriage, but now I find out you stole a royal key to control a war fleet. Nexa finally spoke. That ship is searching for us, or rather for what we took. The key. Jake stepped back. You brought them here. You put all of us in danger. No, Lyra said. We had no choice. You always have a choice, Jake replied coldly. The sisters didn't speak. Outside, snowflakes floated down slowly, but the air felt heavy, like a storm was about to begin again. Jake sat down, staring at the blinking ship above the clouds. So what now? He asked. They land, and we fight them off with one blaster and a few traps? Lyra knelt beside him. We know them. We know how they think. That gives us a chance. Nexa nodded. You helped us. Now we help you. Jake looked at both of them. Why should I trust you? Lyra placed her hand over his. Because we trusted you first. When we were dying. There was silence for a moment. Then Jake stood. All right, let's prepare. Later that day, the ship in the sky did not move. It just hovered, watching, waiting. Inside Jake's ship, they made a plan. Nexa opened a metal box and pulled out a small device, smooth, glowing with soft blue light. This is the royal key, she said. It connects to our family's fleet. With it, one person can control 10,000 ships. Jake whistled. No wonder they're chasing you. But the key only responds to one voice at a time, Lyra added. We took it to stop a war. Our father wanted to use it to conquer a peaceful colony. Jake looked between them. So you're rebels? Not rebels, Nexa said. Protectors. Jake nodded slowly. Then let's protect what matters. That night, Jake stood outside, looking at the stars. The sky was clear now. No clouds. Just the large alien ship, floating like a dark moon. He heard footsteps behind him. Lyra. She stood beside him in silence for a moment. When we were children, she said, we used to look at the stars from our tower. I always dreamed of flying away, of choosing my own path. Jake looked at her. You did that. Yes, she whispered. But it came with a price. She turned to him. You could still walk away. You don't have to fight with us. Jake smiled, but it was tired. If I walk away, I'll always wonder if you made it. And I don't want to live with that. Their eyes met. For a moment, the cold didn't matter. Then Nexa's voice called from inside. They're landing. Moments later, the alien ship touched the ground half a mile from Jake's camp. Snow blew up in all directions. 3 figures exited. Tall, wearing black armor, eyes glowing like fire, royal enforcers. Jake, Lyra, and Nexa watched from behind the rocks. One of the figures shouted, voice loud through a speaker, return the key, return the traitors, or be destroyed. Jake whispered, we need to stall them. Nexa nodded. I'll draw their fire. Lyra, get the key inside their ship's command panel. Jake stopped her. Wait, you're going alone? I trained for this, Nexa said. Let me finish what we started. Jake looked at her. She didn't blink. Lyra grabbed Jake's hand. If we don't return, thank you. Before he could answer, Nexa ran forward, firing blasts to draw attention. The enforcers chased her behind the rocks. Lyra and Jake dashed in the other direction, toward the enemy ship. They reached the command hatch. Lyra placed the key into a glowing panel. The ship's systems blinked. A soft voice spoke in her language. Access granted. Awaiting command. Jake looked at her. Now what? She turned. Now we take control. Suddenly, an explosion echoed from the hills. Nexa's signal went silent. Jake grabbed his comm. Nexa? Nexa, do you copy? No answer. Lyra's hands shook. She's gone. Jake placed his hand on her shoulder. No, not yet. She's too strong. But then, a shadow appeared on the screen. Inside the enemy ship, someone else had entered. An older man, tall with long silver armor. His face appeared on the comm screen. Lyra, he said calmly. Daughter, come home now, or your bondmate dies. The screen showed Jake, standing in the enemy ship's targeting system. He was marked for death. Snow fell softly, as if the world was holding its breath. Inside the enemy ship, Lyra stood frozen. The image on the screen showed her father, High Lord Kale of Nirelon. His silver eyes were cold, his voice calm, but deadly. Come home, Lyra, he repeated. Return the key, or I will end the human. Jake's face was locked in a red target box. The ship's weapons had marked him. One command and he would vanish in fire. Lyra's hands trembled. Her father's voice echoed in her mind. The same voice that once told bedtime stories, now threatening death. Jake stepped closer to her. Don't listen to him. He's bluffing. But Lyra shook her head. He doesn't bluff. Outside, the snow grew thicker. The royal enforcers were spreading out, searching. Nexa's signal was still missing. No one knew if she was alive. Kale's voice returned. You were born to lead armies, Lyra, not run with insects. That man beside you, he's nothing. Jake raised an eyebrow. That's not very diplomatic. Kale smirked. He is not one of us. He is weak. Break the bond now, and I may spare him. Lyra turned to Jake. Her voice was soft. There is a way to break the bond. If I do it, your life won't be tied to ours anymore. You'll be free. Jake didn't speak right away. Then he shook his head. No. I made my choice when I pulled you from the snow. I don't leave people behind. Her eyes filled with tears. Not of fear, but of something deeper. I won't go back, she said aloud. Not just to Jake, but to the screen. I'm not yours anymore. Cale's eyes narrowed. Then you leave me no choice. Suddenly, the ship shook. A shockwave hit the ground. Outside, royal enforcers opened fire toward the hills. Something was moving, fast and wild. Jake looked at the monitor. Nexa, a voice crackled on the radio. Still alive, little scratched, but I brought a surprise. Behind her, an ancient war beast, half machine, half snow dragon, charged through the valley. It roared as it slammed into the royal guards. Lyra gasped. That's from the ice vaults. It's forbidden. Not anymore, Nexa replied. I broke the rules. One more won't hurt. Jake grinned. Now we're talking. Inside the enemy ship, alarms rang. The beast was attacking the engines. The ship began to shake. Cale growled. You think this is over? I have 1,000 more ships. Then he paused. His eyes looked directly at Jake. You, human, do you know why the bond even worked? Jake frowned. What do you mean? Cale smiled, but it was a cruel smile. Because you're not fully human. Everyone fell silent. What? Jake asked. Cale continued. Your DNA, it carries something ancient, something royal, from our bloodline, a secret even you didn't know. Jake stared at him. You're lying. Am I? Cale said. Why do you think the key responded to your voice when Lyra dropped it? Jake looked at Lyra. Her eyes were wide. You touched the key once, she whispered, and it didn't reject you. Only royal blood can do that. Jake stepped back. What the hell is going on? Cale spoke again. Join me, boy. You were born to command. With me, you could rule stars. Jake's heart was pounding. His hands clenched into fists. Then he looked at Lyra. I already made my choice. He pressed a button. The ship's interface blinked. Lyra had copied the command structure earlier. Now Jake overrode the system. Command transfer. Jake Hart. Code accepted. Cale's face changed. What have you done? Jake smirked. I claimed what you were trying to steal. Outside, Nexa climbed onto the dragon's back, waving at the enforcers below. Time to go, she yelled. Jake and Lyra jumped from the enemy ship just as the engine exploded in flames. The dragon grabbed them both and soared into the sky, leaving the royal ship broken behind. As they flew over the snowy peaks, Lyra laughed. A sound full of freedom. Nexa smiled at Jake. Nice move, Commander. Jake shook his head. I didn't ask for this. No, Lyra said softly. But maybe it asked for you. Far below, Cale stood in the snow, watching them fly away. His eyes were dark, but a small smile touched his lips. So, the old blood still lives, he said to himself. Interesting. He turned to one of his guards. Send a message to the council. We have a new problem. Snow, fire, smoke. The sky above the frozen valley was no longer peaceful. Jake, Lyra, and Nexa stood on the back of the ancient snow beast, watching the wreckage of the royal ship below. Sparks flew from broken engines. Enforcers scattered. Cale had vanished into the smoke. But it wasn't over. Jake knew it. So did the sisters. High Lord Cale never retreated without a backup plan. The three of them rowed the beast back to Jake's ship, battered, half covered in snow, but still working. Inside, the warning lights blinked. 3 enemy ships inbound. Nexa cursed. We hit one, and they send 3 more. Jake sat down at the controls. We can't outrun them. No, Lyra said. We go through them. Jake turned. You want to fight starships with a miner's ship? Lyra smiled. No, we fight with their own weapons. A hidden weapon. Nexa reached into her armor and pulled out a small chip. What's that? Jake asked. A royal access drive. It's old, but it can unlock fleet systems if we get close enough. Close enough to what? Jake asked. She pointed at the sky. One of the incoming ships. We need to get inside, plug this in, and take control. Jake shook his head. That's suicide. No, Nexa said. It's the only way we live. Lyra added, we'll be invisible to their scans if you use your mining ship's old signal cloaking system. Jake looked surprised. That tech is ancient. You know how to activate it. Nexa smirked. I studied more than royal dance lessons. Jake stared at them for a moment, then nodded. All right, let's hijack a royal warship. The infiltration. As the enemy ships descended, Jake's ship went dark. The engine cooled. The signal faded. To the enemy, it looked like a dead rock below. But inside, the cloaking field hummed. Invisible. Silent. They rose slowly into the sky. The nearest enemy ship floated just above the cloud line. Black and silver, with sharp wings and a glowing underbelly. Jake guided the ship underneath it. No alarms. No scans. They were ghosts. Docking now, he whispered. The ship connected. A soft click echoed through the hull. Nexa turned to Jake. Stay here. If we fail, disconnect and fly far away. Jake didn't respond. He just handed her his blaster. She nodded and stepped into the airlock. Lyra followed. Inside the enemy, the sisters moved fast, silent as shadows. The halls were cold, metal, and empty for now. Nexa led them to the control core. A single guard stood there watching a screen. Nexa tapped his shoulder. He turned and froze. Too late. One punch. One silent fall. Lyra locked the door. Nexa inserted the chip into the command panel. The screen flickered. Accessing, access granted. They smiled. Then the door exploded. 3 guards burst in, weapons drawn. Nexa fired first, 2 fell instantly. The 3rd rushed at Lyra. She dodged, grabbed a shock rod from the wall, and slammed it into his chest. He dropped. Breathing hard, Nexa turned back to the screen. A message blinked. Ship now under new command. Jake's revelation. Back on Jake's ship, alarms started flashing. The system was trying to reboot on its own. Then the screen changed. A message appeared. DNA verified. Royal access confirmed. Jake Hart, Commander Tier 1. Jake stepped back. What the hell? The ship began uploading data, old memories, files, locked genetic archives. One image flashed on screen. A map of Niralon. And next to it, a faded photo of a woman. His mother. Not a miner. Not even human. She was wearing Niralon royal armor. Jake's hands shook. I'm part of them? His voice was barely a whisper. Betrayal. In the enemy ship, Lyra smiled at Nexa. We did it. But Nexa wasn't smiling. She was holding a communicator and listening to someone. A voice crackled through. It was Kale. Nexa's face was pale. No, she whispered. You promised you wouldn't hurt him. Kale's voice was calm. I won't, if you keep your part of the deal. Lyra looked confused. What deal? Nexa turned slowly. Her eyes were full of pain. I gave him Jake's DNA, so he wouldn't kill Jake during the battle. Lyra stepped back. You did what? Nexa dropped the weapon. I thought I was protecting him. Suddenly, the ship's lights went red. The stolen warship was locking onto Jake's signal. A missile platform unfolded. Jake's ship was now the target. Nexa screamed into the mic. Jake, get out. He's using us. But it was too late. The countdown had started. The missile countdown ticked. 10, 9. Inside his small ship, Jake stared at the glowing screen, his own face in the center of the target. Why me? He muttered. The words of Kale echoed in his mind. You are part of us. Royal blood. The ancient kind. He felt betrayed. Used. First by fate, now by Nexa. Jake slammed his fist on the control panel. Not like this. Inside the warship, Lyra stared at Nexa, eyes full of hurt. You gave him Jake's DNA? I didn't mean to, Nexa shouted. He said if I helped, he'd let Jake live. You trusted him? You trusted Kale. Nexa's voice cracked. I wanted to protect you both. Lyra turned away. Her heart felt like ice. Then she saw something on the screen. Kale's ship. Rising. Heading for orbit. He's leaving, she whispered. He got what he wanted. Nexa's eyes widened. He's taking the key to the fleet. Lyra looked back at her. Then we take it back. Outside, Jake's decision. 5, 4. Jake had one chance. He reached for the emergency override, the one thing that could stop the missile. But it came with a cost. It would trigger a power surge. The ship would be fried. Jake closed his eyes. This was supposed to be a simple job. He hit the switch. Bzzz-zap. The missile warning stopped. Smoke filled the cabin. Lights went out. The ship was dead. But Jake was alive. The sisters stand. Nexa and Lyra fought their way through Kale's troops inside the warship. Their movements were fast, silent, sharp, trained warriors in sync. They reached the bridge. Kale stood in the center, back to them. He turned slowly. Daughters, he said. Still running. We're done running, Nexa replied. Lyra stepped forward. Give us the key. Kale smiled. Or what? You'll destroy me? Kill your own father. No, Lyra said softly. But he might. She pointed behind Kale. A door opened. Jake walked in, covered in smoke and dust. Kale stared. You survived. Jake shrugged. I'm hard to kill. Kale looked amused. Then maybe you are one of us. Jake stepped closer. You used me. You tricked Nexa. You tried to erase me. Now I take it back. Kale laughed. You don't even know what the key is. Jake reached into his jacket and pulled out a glowing shard. The key isn't just a tool, he said. It's a beacon. For something older than your fleets. Kale's smile disappeared. You found the prime core. Jake nodded. Hidden in my bloodline. Passed through my mother. Hidden from you. Kale rushed forward, but Jake slammed the shard into the control panel. Everything froze, awakening the core. Light exploded across the warship. Not fire, not heat, memory, stars, planets, echoes of voices from long ago, ancient ones. Before Nirelon, before Kale, the warship systems shut down. Every soldier collapsed unconscious. Only Jake, Lyra, and Nexa stood awake, wrapped in the glow of the core. Jake heard a voice, not outside, but within. Do you choose to carry the bond? He looked at the sisters. Lyra, her heart strong but scarred. Nexa, loyal even through her mistake. He saw not aliens, but people, and in them his family. Jake whispered, I choose. The light faded. When it was gone, the warship was his. Aftermath. Kale was gone, escaped into the void. But the war fleet answered only to Jake now. The core was sealed again, buried deep inside the ship's memory banks. Outside, the snow was falling. Peaceful. Quiet. Jake stood with Lyra and Nexa beside the ancient snow beast. So what now? He asked. Lyra smiled. You could lead worlds. Nexa added. Or just fly with us. Somewhere quiet. Jake laughed. After all this? Quiet sounds nice. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Jake turned to both of them. Back on Earth, he said. People don't marry aliens. Lyra stepped closer. We're not asking you to marry us. But, Jake asked. She leaned in. We're asking if we can stay. Jake looked out at the stars. 1,000 roads. 1,000 dangers. But maybe this was where he belonged. He nodded. Let's go.